What's up, y'all? Good evening. It's your man Tone Space. Now, Russia is on course of being the first nation in the entire world to come out with an official SARS-CoV-2 or coronavirus vaccine. As they say, they have their vaccine ready to roll out. And as I just read about an hour ago, a lot of healthcare workers, professionals, people in the medical field, people that know vaccines and stuff of that caliber, they're not buying it, they're not jacking it, they don't trust it. They say about half of the people in the medical world are not really feeling it. And we're going to get into why. And I found something very interesting that I definitely want to cover in regard to a huge kind of like a red flag that would make you a little suspicious of it. But let's just go with what I learned, because I'm no pro at this at all. Anything in regarding to vaccines, coronavirus, even so many different levels of health, I'm new to as of finding out about this pandemic since around the end of January onward. I've made sure that I've become knowledgeable on a whole lot of things. So a lot of this is new to me. So what I mean is I never knew that for a vaccine, when they come out with vaccines, on average, it takes anywhere between like 5 to 10 years of research and studies and checks for efficacy and safety and everything before they release a vaccine. You know, basically, when they get to the human trials, that's what that the bulk of the time is. The 5 to 10 year period are studying the people that they vaccinated with whatever. Check up on them after 5 years, after 10 years, see how they're doing. Make sure they don't got any weird growths going on, or you know, as a whole, to make sure that the vaccine has still been safe on their anatomy, on their body, and stuff like that. Right now, as many of you know, even in the United States, everywhere they're talking about getting a vaccine done within a year's time or a year and a half if you go as far back as like early February up until now. Because in the US, they're saying as soon as the end of this year, as late as maybe the end of next year. So we're talking about like a year and a half on the high end that at least the United States is talking about of how long it'll take before they come out with a vaccine. And these are many different companies because there's several different companies trying different vaccines with several different varieties and kinds of vaccines, be it with antibodies or things that mimic how the virus looks, several different methods and companies. And many of these companies have already gotten to the human trial phase. There's people that's plugged up with it walking around now that they're checking, you know, but they're not going to give them the 5 to 10 year push. But basically, Russia is doing it even quicker than that, as they're not even waiting for any, even as I understand, even preliminary results of how their human trials have went. I don't even think they've done much of human trials, though I think I have heard something where they somewhat have done some. But it might be for nothing because they're not waiting for any results, even in a year's time, a few months. They're ready to roll this vaccine out right now. You know what I mean? So, and on one hand, it's like, yeah, that's extremely fast. I can understand people not trusting it. It could be dangerous, not waiting for results of how it affects the people and everything. But then on the other hand, when you look at the grand scope of things of how long normally it takes for a vaccine to come out, if we're talking 5 to 10 years, then hey, everybody is kind of pushing it on the risk factor side of things. United States, Russia, everyone, just their a higher intense of that, having trying to beat everyone to the punch with the vaccine, which goes into another thing that I think raises some red flags, and that's what Russia has named their vaccine. If you're familiar with the early space race, Russia were the first people to put a satellite up in space. And the name of that satellite was Sputnik. Now, jokingly, when I heard that Russia was ready to roll out a vaccine, the joke instantly came to me. I was like, yo, what if they named this thing Sputnik? Them winning the vaccine race and whatever. Lo and behold, what's the name of the vaccine? Sputnik V, V for vaccine, right? So they're naming it Sputnik. So here you already have something that's like a touchy subject, something that is going to already raise suspicions, being that it's, so quick that you're rolling out a vaccine before seeing how the results are in humans over an extended period of time. So, the public, whoever is supposed to take it, they're already going to be suspicious of that. And Vladimir Putin, whoever is responsible for the Sputnik name, y'all decided to opt out for some egotistical type of situation in naming it Sputnik, because it's an immediate nod to how you guys were the first to put a satellite in that place that they call space. before anyone else. You know what I'm saying? So we know that it's a direct reference to that, be it taken sarcastically or just proudly or however you want to say it. It's it's riddled with egotism. You know what I'm saying? Calling the thing Sputnik, because here you have people like, oh, you're coming out with it too quick, and you're wearing that with pride. Yeah, we coming out with this thing real quick. We're Sputnik. No one else has the vaccine this quick. We were beating you to the punch. Might as well call it, give it a side name, Roadrunner, Sputnik the Roadrunner, 160 mile per hour or something. You know what I mean? Play off the whole speed aspect of things, you know, since you're already literally doing that anyway. You know what I mean? So I could understand why people would even be more suspicious, you know, because that implies, at least in part, that your incentive in coming out with a vaccine is to beat the rest of the world. And you have the incentive of not waiting for human trials or seeing how it is going to affect population and everything. No, just put this thing out. So of course people are not going to be jacking it even more than they normally already wouldn't be. And even before, you know, when I decided to do this video, I didn't even check this article, as this article is basically saying just that. It says production of COVID-19 vaccine starts in Russia, but half of the country's medics won't take it. Right? More than half of medics surveyed in Russia have said they do not trust the COVID-19 vaccine touted by President Vladimir Putin, as the country announced that it had started its widespread production. Russia's health ministry announced on Saturday that the production of the vaccine developed by the Gamaleya Institute outside of Moscow had begun, with the TASS news agency reporting that 20 countries have already asked for the supply of 1 billion doses. However, it appears that enthusiasm for the vaccine expressed by Putin, who said it had been taken by one of his daughters and offers sustainable immunity, is not shared across the Russian medical establishment, aka the people that are closest to the situation in regard to knowing the ins and outs about vaccine safety, efficacy, types of vaccines, stuff like that. So that's literally the pros that are not feeling that. You know what I mean? So that's interesting. A lot of you may already have heard that Dr. Fauci, who's like what the head of the United States medical situation in this pandemic, I forget what his official title is, but he's the coronavirus doctor guy of the U.S., the official figure. He's not jacking it either. He said, "Yeah, I don't know about that, bruh. You know, y'all coming out with that way too quick. You know." And then Eve, you know, we could step aside. We could step away from all of that, because you know there's levels to this. There's levels to this mistrust outside of the ins and outs about legitimately trying to come out with a vaccine and how quick you're going to do it and everything. How about just the idea of vaccines in general and the whole movement that's against vaccinating children and babies getting vaccinated and people getting all messed up in the game and autism and all these other things that have been loosely or heavily related to vaccination. Say loosely or heavily because, you know, it's a controversial subject or whatever, you know. Or take it even a step further when you get into things like the Tuskegee experiment, you know, purposely infecting people with deadly or dangerous, nasty diseases just to, you know, rock out and see what it does to them and everything like that. Who's going to be the test subjects for these vaccines? You know, who are the test subjects? Is there like a specific demographic of people concentrated in more of a demographic than others, or has it been evenly spread? Those that, you know, have already been plugged up, you know, in the trials. You know, I mean, early on in the pandemic, I heard something about a $7,500 payout to vaccinate people, you know, to give them, you know, vaccines. Now, I don't know, just thinking off the top, that would bring out the, you know, the poor and the downtrodden to get that $7,500 that may otherwise not have wanted to be the people that would do that. You know, it's all types of things to look out, all types of different levels to this. But that's what Russia's doing. They're coming out with the vaccine, and even the medical experts are saying they are not feeling it. And for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, we know what reason it is. They're naming it Sputnik because they're trying to win. Bad choice of a name, sir. Bad choice of a name. Anyways, Tone Space, like, share, subscribe, all the fly stuff. I'm going to be doing a little more stories on stuff like that. So be on the lookout.